too late. That's allfamilypharmacy.com/Bill.
Why leave your company's story to chance? In today's digital world, video content isn't just an option. It's essential for your success. At Blue Ocean Media Group, we've spent decades crafting compelling visual stories for businesses just like yours. From concept to completion, our award-winning team transforms your vision into powerful video content that connects with your audience and drives results. Don't trust your brand to amateurs. Partner with Blue Ocean Media Group. Visit blueoceanmediagroup.com today, and let's bring your story to life.
Now, the O'Reilly update brings you something you might not know. 35 years ago, an international group of engineers met 130 feet beneath the English Channel. The teams from Britain and France had finally linked their nations together, a concept that dates back more than 2 centuries. Here's the story of the Channel Tunnel, or the Channel. The idea of connecting Great Britain to mainland Europe was suggested by Napoleon Bonaparte in 1802. The emperor envisioned a series of man-made islands connected by narrow bridges and subterranean roads. The technology was finally developed in the late 20th century. In 1986, officials from London and Paris signed a treaty authorizing the construction of a 31-mile tunnel under the Channel. Over the next 4 years, 13,000 workers toiled beneath the sea. 8 million cubic meters of soil removed. The price tag for all this, $15 billion. On December 1st, 1990, the 2 teams finally met. After the final tube was completed, the workers exchanged French and British flags, toasted each other with champagne. 4 years later, the Channel opened for business. The first to make the underground journey were French President Francois Mitterrand and Queen Elizabeth II. During its height of operation, 60,000 people used the Channel every 24 hours. That's 21 million travelers a year. Today, folks can make the trek between England and France in less than half an hour. Typical ticket costs $50. And here's something else you might not know. Using the Channel became more difficult in 2020 after the passage of Brexit. The UK officially left the European Union. So transit beneath the Channel required passports, customs, even some visas. Service between the 2 countries down 20% since that time. Back after this. If you own a vehicle with less than 200,000 miles and have an auto warranty about to expire or have no warranty, listen up. Car Shield is a low-cost month-to-month vehicle protection plan. It's now available to the public. You can save out-of-pocket expenses on future auto repairs. Please call Car Shield now to find out how you can pay almost nothing for covered auto repairs. 800-881-0365 for a free quote. This protection plan is at an all-time low price. Drivers who activate this vehicle protection today will also receive free roadside assistance, free towing, and car rental options at no additional cost. So please call for your free quote. 800-881-0365. 800-881-0365. Hey, what do you have to lose? 800-881-0365. Thank you for listening to the O'Reilly Update. I am Bill O'Reilly. No spin, just facts, and always looking out for you.
News Talk STL. KLGY HD3 Clayton, K270BW Belfast, KNBS Bowling Green. This is News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1, and always streaming at newstalkstl.com. From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
First Alert Weather Day. While the first intense band of snow has cleared the area, we're still looking at some light snow showers, and any accumulations on roadways will make them slick. Watch for slick going during that evening commute tonight, and keep an eye on the evening as another heavy wave and burst of heavy snow move into the area where additional 1 inch per hour snowfall rates are possible. That snow clears late tonight. Temperatures fall into the teens for many, and Tuesday is cold as well. With your First Alert forecast, I'm meteorologist Leah Hill.
This hour of News Talk STL is brought to you by Rodney and Jen Wallner and the entire Wallner home selling team at Berkshire Hathaway. Call them today at 314-810-SOLD. 314-810-SOLD.
Fox News commentary with David Marcus next.
If a Lenovo computer for your business is on your holiday list, don't shop around. Just go directly to the source, Lenovo.com. You'll find exclusive deals on the PCs you want for your business, like the ThinkPad X9 14 Aura Edition and Yoga 7i 2-in-1. So avoid all that shopping chaos and price comparing, and just go directly to the source, Lenovo.com, where PCs are up to 50% off. That's Lenovo.com.
Lenovo.
Here's David Marcus.
The postmortems for Republicans' lackluster results in the elections in New Jersey, Virginia, and beyond are in. And while pet theories abound, there's one thing almost everyone agrees on. In the age of President Donald Trump, the GOP does not fare well when he's not on the ballot. The question for Republicans in tough congressional campaigns across the country is how they can symbolically get Trump on the ballot and, more importantly, get his often reluctant voters to the polls to fill out said ballots. The best way to achieve this goal is an idea that Trump himself has floated, a midterm national Republican convention that showcases the party's achievements under Trump's second term and that makes it crystal clear that Americans won't just be voting for Congress, but for Trump's agenda. Letting Trump be Trump might not just be the best strategy for Republicans in 2026. It might be the only one.
For more commentary like this, go to foxnewspodcast.com.
Join the Constitutional Coalition and the Heritage Foundation on Wednesday, December 3rd for Foundations of Freedom, honoring the past, securing the future. Constitutional scholars John Malcolm and Brenda Hefera highlight a panel discussion reflecting on the vision of America's founding fathers and the enduring significance of the Constitution. That's Foundations of Freedom, Wednesday, December 3rd at the Frontenac Hilton. Reception begins at 5:30 p.m. with discussion at 6:30 p.m. RSVP at constitutionalcoalition.org. Paid for by the Heritage Foundation.
PRI Global now has Prismatic, an AI-driven platform that can help you and your business, especially in construction. Simplify your operations, secure data, modernize your business from the cloud up. Visit PRIGlobal.com. Innovation with talent and technology. People, process, platform. PRI Global delivers all three. Check them out. PRIGlobal.com. PRIGlobal.com.
This is Larry Connor's commentary on News Talk STL.
It is a known fact that terrorists know how to carry out mass murder. But lately, we're also realizing they know how to carry out massive fraud. Case example, the backyard for Somalia immigrants, the state of Minnesota. City Journal, which is a conservative think tank with Manhattan Institute, focused on just autism fraud. Some cases were real, many were fake, others were simply exaggerated, all to get money. And in some cases, the families were promised $300 up to $1,500 a month if they would simply enroll their child in the state Minnesota autism program. How did those numbers go? Well, in 2018, $3 million paid out by the state. By 2019, $54 million. By the end of 2023, $400 million. The money went not just to help with any autism care, but deprived other kids who did need it. And of course, the money went back to Somalia, supporting Somalia terrorists. At one point, 1 out of every 16 4-year-old Somalian children diagnosed with autism. That's triple the average. What a scheme. Rob from the needy and those who need the help and give your money to the terrorists.
Get more Larry Connors on Larry Connors USA.
Tonight at 6 on News Talk STL. If you find yourself feeling out of place in the world, it's comforting to know conservative values haven't been abandoned everywhere.
Thanks for being my voice in all this.
This is News Talk STL.
There are people out there that feel the way that I feel and say what I say.
Welcome home. Tim Jones and Chris Arps in the afternoon.
The 9 most terrifying words in the English language are, I'm from the government and I'm here to help.
The more you remove voting from Election Day, the more opportunity you're offering for people to commit fraud.
Are you not entertained? Are you not entertained?
I think the Democrats are so short-sighted in this tactic they have now to just cheat at any cost to win elections.
You're a lying dog-faced pony soldier. You said you were, but now you got to be honest. I'm going to be honest with you.
What are we doing wrong here?
As a former leader in the House, I think you can put your finger on it. It's called leadership. We don't have it.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps.
Amid the increase in operations at a naval base in Puerto Rico, President Trump posted, please consider the airspace above and surrounding Venezuela to be closed in its entirety. While the U.S. can't unilaterally close another country's airspace, the Federal Aviation Administration has been warning airlines for weeks to avoid the area due to increased military activity. On Thursday, Trump said the attacks on Venezuela would not be limited to boats.
We'll be starting to stop them by land also. The land is easier, but that's going to start very soon.
Things are cold, snowy, and windy here in the heartland, but they're heating up down south, South America style, down in Venezuela. We'll discuss a lot of that this afternoon. Welcome to the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show. Hope you had a great Thanksgiving weekend, December the 1st, 2025, 4:07 in the PM. Chris, what do they say about climate change and global warming when you have not one, but 2 snowstorms on Thanksgiving weekend, one on each side of the holiday?
Well, it was very warm in the Arps household because my father-in-law stayed with us for a few days. And I know I'm going to piss a lot of people off when I say this, but how about them Cowboys?
Yeah, I like that too. That's all right. I mean,
I know. There's a lot of haters out there, but that's my team. I'm sorry.
St. Louisans cheering for the Chiefs. You might as well cheer for the Cowboys. I'm just saying. I agree. There's a ton of Dallas Cowboys fans. In fact, I have forgotten how many Cowboys fans there are in St. Louis. We went to a Friendsgiving a week or so ago with a lot of my buddies from high school, and I had kind of forgotten over the decades that a ton of them are Cowboys fans too. Why? We're all the same generation. Yeah. We're all between 50 and 60 years old. And we all experienced the loss of the St. Louis football Cardinals. Yeah. And then everybody had to get a new team to cheer for. We sure as heck weren't going to cheer for the Chicago Bears.
Exactly.
Kansas City Chiefs were pretty crappy back then, so we chose America's team.
And it's all right to root for the Chiefs. People know and understand that the Kansas City Chiefs at one time were called the Dallas Texans, and they played in the American Football League.
There you go.
Lamar Hunt figured that that Dallas can't support the Dallas Cowboys and the Dallas Texans, so he moved his team to Kansas City, and they became the Chiefs. And then, of course, we had the NFL-AFL merger in 1970, and which created the new NFL. So I have family in Kansas City. I've never been a big fan of the Chiefs. I root for them when they were winning Super Bowls and had the run, but never been a big Chiefs fan because I just remember during the 70s, they just always sucked. And 80s. They had a little run there in the 80s, a little bit.
And now the Chiefs and the Cowboys, oh my goodness, have almost the same exact record. They're both in the hunt for a potential wild card slot.
We're trending. Cowboys are trending in the right direction.
They're trending
three
definitely
wins in a row.
In the right direction. And of course, as I mentioned, the other big news over the weekend that continues to be big news here in the heartland, we've got snow and ice and really chilly temperatures. On top of that, on top of the fact that no one can yell and scream about global warming over the last 4 or 5 days, did you know, I did not know until this morning when the news report came out, that this is the first time in 10 years that we've ended hurricane season without a single hurricane achieving landfall in the continental U.S.
That was something that I had in my stack for the end of the show. Not that I was going to do it, but eventually I was going to get to that. But yeah, I had that in my stack last week. And in addition to that, talking about global warming, Bill Gates has this idea, and he's supporting this science to somehow warm up or de-warm, that's a word, the planet, this big $1 billion investment that he's using. And I'll talk about that at the end of the show.
I can't wait to hear about that one. Look, I believe, as many people do on the center right side of the political fence, us notoriously evil, could care less conservatives, which we're not. We care very much about the planet. In fact, when you look at some of the best conservation efforts in the world today, many of them are borne by conservatives. Ducks Unlimited is the one that always comes to mind. Ducks Unlimited is a great, very kind of quiet wildlife organization that is mainly populated by conservatives. They believe in protecting the places that should be protected. Basically, I'll use a word from the left, coexisting, right? Coexisting properly. Neither side getting the upper hand, making sure that we take care of the human race and that we take care of nature as well. And so, I just think it's remarkable that anytime there's a pattern of weather that tends to support the climate change, global warming narrative, we get beat over the head endlessly about it. And then, Chris, when the opposite thing happens, when it's cold and snowy over Thanksgiving, which usually isn't in the Midwest, this is unnaturally cold for us, when there are no hurricanes that reach landfall, we don't hear a peep about it.
Yeah, and we have to remember, first of all, that Teddy Roosevelt, the great bull moose, as he was called, ran on that ticket after he left the White House. He's the one that started the national park system, and he was a huge conservationist back in the day. So, Republicans care about the planet, but we also know, too, that you can care and conserve the planet, but you can also have progress also in our country. And Democrats don't believe that you can have both of those. And you also have to remember, too, that there's a lot of money in global warming. These universities and colleges get millions, billions of dollars from the government for research. And if global warming proves not to be true, those research dollars, Tim, they stop. And as we know, and you were in college, I was in college, a lot of times these professors don't teach classes anymore. They do research and they get paid millions or a lot of money to do research. And that's the majority of their work. So global warming is a cause, it's a belief, it's also an industry. And we all know that.
Multi-billion-dollar industry, and it's largely built, many believe, on junk science. Yeah. How about we actually have a public policy discussion about what we should be doing with the planet versus one side beating the other side over the head with notions of insanity. And then when we have these periods, we should be celebrating the fact that we didn't have a single hurricane make landfall in the continental U.S. this year, but you won't hear a peep out of it from MS Now or CNN or what have you. Yeah. Chris, we came into the show today with Donald Trump declaring that he's doing everything he can to put the screws to Maduro in Venezuela. We got Jim Talon at 425. He's going to tell us all about the latest, greatest, or not so down south.
Oh, we do. And I don't believe in a minute that Donald Trump is going to send ground troops into Venezuela. I think this is a psyops operation more than anything to try to get the President Maduro of Venezuela to leave. President Trump said last week that he talked to Maduro and they had discussions about Maduro leaving. And what way to better shut down a country is to shut down their airspace where you can't have planes coming in, tourism. If there is tourism, you can't have goods being flown into Venezuela. If you can shut down their economy in that way, it just puts pressure on Maduro to leave. So I think this is a psyops operation. We've got a huge naval force on the coast of Venezuela, and I think they're just trying to use the kids' language. They're trying to punk him.
Mm-hmm.
You like that, Joey? Punk him.
I just had pumpkin pie.
Yes, we all
Delicious.
did. Unfortunately, Chris, another big tragic item that happened right as we were signing off of the show last Wednesday. We got a chance, I think, to mention it, but we did not know hardly any of the details. Chris, how many times during the Biden administration did we say that Biden's failed border policies would lead to terrorists entering our homeland and then causing death and destruction here on our shores? It unfortunately happened, and now 2 National Guardsmen have been shot. One has already died. The other one is fighting for his life.
Yeah, and the media all on the Sunday programs were being apologists for the Biden administration, saying, that he worked for the CIA back in Afghanistan. He helped kill Taliban. He was vetted by the Biden administration when he came in. And he was given final approval by the Trump administration, I think, in April. But the one thing that, and the Secretary of Homeland Security brought this up, he may have been vetted, and the Trump administration may have approved him for permanent asylum back in April, but it was based on the Biden administration's vetting. So that canard that they're trying to use, that Trump is just as responsible as Biden for this guy coming into the country and committing this heinous act, just doesn't hold water with me.
I specifically remember our conversations during the chaotic, catastrophic evacuation of Afghanistan in Kabul, where the planes were taking off and people were jumping onto the planes. They weren't being vetted at that point, and we were saying to ourselves, who's coming over here? Where are they settling? And if people have been vetted, maybe they need to be re-vetted once again, because just because you were the enemy of my enemy, which made you my friend over in Afghanistan, doesn't mean that you ultimately don't like America either. And so this is a great example of immigration gone wild, and we'll discuss that as well with Jim.
I think this guy was part of a sleeper cell. He infiltrated the United States military. He said that he was a friend. He killed Taliban. What better way to make sure you can get your ticket punched to America by helping the Americans kill the enemy? He came over here and became a sleeper cell, one-man sleeper cell, maybe. Who knows? There may be other conspirators with him. And when the time was right, he traveled across the country. He was living in Washington State and murdered this young National Guard woman and seriously wounded the other gentleman. I wouldn't be surprised at all that this was all planned out.
We'll discuss all those horrible issues relating to that tragic shooting with Jim Talent, along with the Venezuelan airspace issue, the ongoing efforts for peace in the Middle East, an update on Russia, Ukraine, and so much more. That'll be a jam-packed segment. You're not going to want to miss it. 4:25. 4:45, of course, we've got Chris's Corner today.
Yeah, Jim, you know that Cori Bush, of course, is running against Wesley Bell for her old seat back. And, dude, she's not getting a lot of love from her former colleague. So we'll have the scoop on that.
No longer an invited member of the squad, huh? Well, I can't wait to hear all about crazy Cori Bush at 4:45 in Chris's Corner. Speaker's stump speech at 5:07. The forgotten story of Thanksgiving. What would that might be? I found a fascinating article by our friend Paul Hamby that I thought was worth retelling. The forgotten story of Thanksgiving and how it equates to Mondami's potential failed socialist experiment in New York. What is the early Pilgrim days and Mondami's vision for New York have to do with each other? You'll find out at 5:07. Susie Moore joining us at 5:25. Kristi Noem. Chris, you mentioned you watched some of the Sunday shows. Kristi Noem was all over the place on Sunday talking about the National Guard shooting suspect. Susie Moore has been writing on that and following that. And she's got some interesting information about a top Zelensky aide who just resigned. Why so? We'll discuss all of that at 5:25 and more. And then, Chris, you mentioned stacks of stuff. I'm sure you got some more interesting things for us at 5:45 that we will go through.
I do. I'm sure Joey knows what this is, but the Oxford University Press has revealed their word of the year. So we'll disclose what that is. Tim, you talked about Speaker's stump speech, the similarities between Mondami and Thanksgiving. You gave me a clue there. Does this have to do with something Rush Limbaugh used to say?
Yes.
Okay, got it.
It's based on based on
this
the
is
old
very interesting.
It's based on the old Rush story that he used to tell. I probably heard that at some point and forgot until I reread this, and I was like, oh yeah. And Chris,
didn't work then, and
well,
it doesn't work now.
And isn't it interesting? The Pilgrims learned from that early mistake.
Yeah.
Why would we want to commit it again? Everybody's probably now guessing what we're talking about here, but you're going to have to wait till 5:07.
I think we teased it pretty good
to get the full meal deal. Speaking of the weekend and the box office and movies and such, producer Joey V here. Joey, as you predicted, Zootopia 2 made bazillions of dollars, and I helped contribute to that, not by going to the movie, but by providing for my daughters and the boyfriend and the cousins and everybody else that was in town. I'm sure that I paid for a bunch of movie tickets on, what was it, Saturday that they went to see Zootopia 2.
You were like, here's some $20. Get the hell out of my face. I want to watch a new Ken Burns documentary. $556 million. My goodness.
0.4 million.
Thank you, Chris. Speaking of petty, Tashara Jones is posting about the snowfall.
Oh, man.
And
I
she
saw
is
that.
Very mad at Kara Spencer of doing a good job.
She's like, I don't want to. She was like, she had put a post of like, I don't want to be petty, but Kara Spencer talked about me during my mayoralship. So I'm going to return the favor and I'm like, I wanted to comment so bad and say, you look really, really petty. Leave it alone.
She
You
said
lost.
IDGAF. I don't know what that means, but it sounds bad.
It gaff.
Indeed. So, Joey, did that break any sorts of records, Zootopia 2 and the box office haul?
Yes.
Moana 2 was number 1 for that Thanksgiving break, but very close second was Zootopia 2. So it just goes to show if you put out a sequel that no one really writes any good plot for, it'll still make a ton of money. I hated Moana 2, and I didn't really care for Zootopia 2.
I have some numbers on it. It was the 4th highest global movie opening of all time, and it was the largest animated opening of all time.
There you have it. And I help contribute to that as well.
Yeah.
Hey, coming up, we're going to talk about the National Guard shooter being radicalized in the U.S., according to the Homeland Secretary. What's up with Venezuelan airspace, and how much should the U.S. continue to get involved in that ongoing problem? And peace in the Middle East, an update there, and between Russia and Ukraine. Holy smokes, do we have a lot to get to? We better get to the break right now so we can bring in Jim Talent. He's up next to slice and dice, bisect and dissect that next on the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show, 101.9, 94.1, News Talk STL.
It's the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show. From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
First alert weather day. While the first intense band of snow has cleared the area, we're still looking at some light snow showers, and any accumulations on roadways will make them slick. Watch for slick going during that evening commute tonight, and keep an eye on the evening as another heavy wave and burst of heavy snow move into the area where additional 1 inch per hour snowfall rates are possible. That snow clears late tonight. Temperatures fall into the teens for many, and Tuesday is cold as well. With your first alert forecast, I'm meteorologist Leah Hill.
If you have a phone, you have a radio.
I listen to News Talk STL on the app driving to work.
Download the News Talk STL app.
You got to get the News Talk STL app.
Love the app. Can listen anywhere in St. Louis.
And listen anytime. News Talk STL right on my phone. Anywhere.
Well, we are definitely in the season for bright, shiny, sparkly things. You want to go to a place that's not going to break the bank, where you can get something really special for the loved one in your life that's going to be an honest jewelry solution for your needs, and also that's going to fit your budget. Newsteaders Fine Jewelers. And look, whether you've got, I don't know, I'll throw out some numbers, whether you got $50 to spend or $500 or $5,000, Newsteaders Fine Jewelers is going to have what you need for the special people in your life. They're located right in the heart of it all, 2961 Daugherty Ferry Road, just 2 miles west of Interstate 270. If you want to check out ahead of time what they've got in some of their stock, just go to wowdiamonds.com. You can do that today in the comfort and warmth of your home, and then head to Newsteaders tomorrow when the roads are clear and the weather is going to be, I promise you, so much better. Newsteaders Fine Jewelers, wowdiamonds.com, been around since 1961. Richard Newsteader, a master engraver, still drawing, developing, sketching, creating beautiful legacy items. He's a master engraver, not a lost art here in the St. Louis region. They have diamonds, lab and mined and lab grown. They'll put those in beautiful wedding and engagement rings. They have hand engraved items, as I mentioned. They can repair any type of jewelry you have. They can refurbish any type of jewelry you have. They have awesome Frank Sinatra themed Belova watches and other varieties as well for men and women. It's a wonderful place. It's a one-stop shop. They've got the glow of warm gold this time of year and so much more. Go in there, build your wish list with your loved ones, and then you go back in and pick up the next thing on the list, and they'll be so impressed when you remember. Don't remind them about the list you created. That's just your secret between you and the great folks at Newsteaders. They got tons of stuff to make the jewelry buying experience wonderful again. Newsteaders Fine Jewelers at wowdiamonds.com. Newsteaders Fine Jewelers at wowdiamonds.com.
License number E2014A.
Hey, it's good to see you.
Dad, that's what Grandpa Rip always said.
That's right. 50 years ago, Grandpa started Grasser, and whenever a customer called, he'd smile and say, "Hey, it's good to see you."
Hey, it's good to see you.
It was his way of treating people like neighbors, not numbers. That's why we still say it today.
Green is always Grasser at GrasserHomeservices.com.
Hey, it's good to see you.
Jamie Allman here for O'Fallon Family Floors. Experience the passion. Oh, yeah. You can go in and see the best variety, the best pricing, the best quality, the best personalized service right there off of Highway K in O'Fallon, or you can have the store come to you. Oh, yeah. Brian and his team take great pride in running a fantastic flooring outlet, and you can get their 5-star ratings right there on Google. Just check it out. It's O'Fallon Family Floors, O'FallonFamilyFloors.com.
This hour of Jones and Arps is brought to you by Stifel. Contact your Stifel financial advisor at stifel.com. That's STIFEL.com.
I shop the sheriff. But I didn't shoot no deputy. Oh no.
It's the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show.
I shot the sheriff. But I didn't shoot no deputy.
The Washington Post reports after U.S. forces carried out a strike in September on a suspected drug boat that left 2 survivors struggling in the water, a second strike was carried out to kill them. This was allegedly done to comply with Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth's initial orders to kill all passengers on the boat. Now lawmakers on both sides of the aisle say Hegseth may have violated international law.
This rises to the level of a war crime if it's true.
When people want to surrender, you don't kill them. And they have to pose an imminent threat.
426 on the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show. And Tim, we know that Defense Department of War Secretary Pete Hegseth has been in the crosshairs of the media and the Democrats since day one.
Mm-hmm.
We see that he is still in after this incident. Let's see what our next guest has to think about this and more. Former U.S. Senator Jim Talent and chairman of the Reagan Institute.
I'm watching this and just wondering, who's running the show.
This Jim Talent segment is brought to you by Royal Banks of Missouri.
Senator, before we get into the heavy news of the day, how was your Thanksgiving?
It was great. Thank you. It was very busy. We had my younger daughter in with one of my grandsons and had a good time. So thank you. I trust that you two had a great Thanksgiving as well.
Oh, we did. It's always great to have a 4-day weekend.
I am several pounds heavier than 5 days ago, however.
I hear you. All right, Senator, you heard that clip, and I'm just going to ask you straight out, as a former senator, as a foreign policy military expert, and as an attorney, did Pete Hegseth commit a war crime, in your opinion?
No. And let me just say 3 things. First of all, I fully support this mission. My only concern is that we're not getting enough drug boats. It's the first effective thing I can remember we've done to strike at these cartels, not only to take out particular shipments of drugs, but to deter others from being sent here, because I would imagine there are a lot fewer people willing to man these boats than there were a few months ago. And I'm not going to cry crocodile tears for any of them. Okay. Now, second, and I'm not an expert on the code of military justice, but I guess the issue would be, if you're sitting there thinking about it, is how likely is it that these individuals, who I noticed the report called passengers, okay, that these individuals would be able to get back in the fight? If there was a boat nearby that was capable of taking them on board and confining them, then yes. Then, in other words, if they're capable of surrendering and you have somebody there who can capture them, then yeah, you don't shoot them. If on the other hand, they're capable of getting back into the fight, then they're still fair game. This is like, if we had a naval battle with Japan in World War II and we hit a boat and it's sinking, and the sailors are out in the water and they're paddling towards another boat and they're going to get back on it and rejoin the Japanese Navy, you can shoot them. Okay. So that I guess is technically it, but I certainly would not refer to this in any way, shape, or form as a war crime. Now, I don't mind them investigating it, because what is clear from this is that we need firmer rules of engagement so that our commanders and our soldiers and sailors know what to do. So if you want to criticize the administration, that's what I would criticize them for. What are the rules of engagement under circumstances like this? Do people know what they're allowed to do and not allowed to do? And I'll add one other thing. It's really, all this rhetoric from the Democrats is very dangerous, because what it will do, if the guys and gals in the units believe it, is we're going to end up with something similar to the Ferguson effect on policing. We're going to have people afraid to fight and to carry out their missions because they don't want to be prosecuted thereafter.
Yeah. Dysfunctional Democrats indeed. Senator, staying on this general subject, the president made a statement over the last few days about Venezuelan airspace, saying, please consider the airspace above and surrounding Venezuela to be closed in its entirety. He wrote that on a Truth Social post. Senator, what does that mean in reality, and what does it say to you about the pressure campaign that the U.S. is exerting against the rogue nation?
Well, that's you just used the words for it. It's a pressure campaign. And, the president evidently spoke to Maduro directly over the weekend. I don't know if that's been confirmed, but I've seen reports of that effect, and told him he ought to leave, which would be better for everybody, not just because he's all tied up with the cartels and drug trafficking, but because he is an outpost for our adversaries in the Western Hemisphere. The Cubans, the Russians, and the Chinese, and we should want him gone. And again, this is the first really effective attempt I've seen to try and get him gone. Now, whether he'll leave or not, I don't know, but I sure would like to see it. And it's time. It really is time, Tim, that we started dealing with the threats that are directly impacting thousands of Americans. And the cartels do that, not only because of the drugs, but everything else they're involved in. And because their tentacles are in the United States as well, as we saw when they took over an apartment complex in Colorado last year.
Speaking with Jim Talent, former U.S. Senator and chairman of the Reagan Institute's National Leadership Council. Senator, we've all heard and seen the tragic story on Thanksgiving Eve with the National Guardsmen that were shot. Unfortunately, one of them has died. The other one is in serious condition. This was an Afghan national who helped our military over in Afghanistan. He was part of an elite group. They say that he was vetted when he came over. A federal official said yesterday on the Sunday shows that they think that he was radicalized in his own community while he was here. How worried are you about the Afghan citizens that came over here during that chaotic withdrawal, that they could be potential murderers and terrorists as well?
Well, in first place, on the general policy of who we should let in, I'm fine with saying that there are countries where the level of radicalism is so high, we should have a pause until we're certain that we can vet people. I would not want a policy that says where nationals of other countries are actively cooperating with American forces in important missions, that we should never be willing to take them. Again, the issue then will be people aren't going to be as willing to cooperate, and that will work against the security of our people, right? So evidently something happened to him here. Now, radicalization of people who come over here from other countries is a big problem. And it would be nice if the Bureau was doing a more effective job of tracking that. Because it is, it's a major issue. Whether that was the case here, I'm not entirely convinced, because evidently this guy was just going off his rocker, right? I mean, he would spend weeks in his room, not talk to his wife. Now, maybe that was all radicalization. Maybe, that he was a mental case. I don't know. And I understand that the administration wants to be transparent, and the secretary is telling us whatever, she knows at this point. But I'm kind of withholding judgment until I hear more. But there's no question that, we've had a lot of these instances where people got radicalized here. The Fort Hood shooting, the Pulse nightclub shooting, the truck attack in New Orleans earlier this year. I mean, the press memory holds this stuff, but it happens a lot, and we do need to be a lot more effective in dealing with it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Senator, we need to have a system of immigration that falls in line with what it traditionally has been in this country. Many of us are products of legal immigration over the generations, but we can't just have this. I mean, how many times did we discuss during the Biden years that we were concerned about unfettered, unmitigated, non-vetted immigration and wondering when something bad might happen? Well, something bad did happen last week, right?
Yeah, and look, you can make a strong argument that we should simply push pause on most kinds of legal immigration. My point was that I would not want a policy that allowed no exceptions in cases for people who had performed extraordinary services on behalf of the United States. I think in the first place, they've earned it, and in the second place, it would deter others from cooperating under those circumstances, and that's a very useful tool that we have. But I got no problem with saying, look, let's just take Pakistan, which is a hotbed of terrorism. We're not letting people in from Pakistan unless we're absolutely certain, or if we just want to push pause on it for a while we go over our procedures. I'd be supportive of that as well.
Senator, the Steve Witkoff and the president's son-in-law are in Russia trying to negotiate an end to the war between Russia and Ukraine. President Putin has said that he won't end the war until he can gain access to the Donbass region. What is so strategic about that region for Russia and for Putin?
Well, it's an industrial region. Now, how much use it's going to be to anybody after what's happened to it in the last 3 years, I don't know. But they're probably talking about a system of fortifications. I think they call it the Fortress Belt that Ukraine has built over the years. It's a defense in depth against an invasion, trenches, bunkers, mines, and the rest of it. And the kind of war they're fighting there, that kind of defense is very effective because they can't fight maneuver warfare. Neither side can. It's one of the really telling things about the war. They're good at drones, but they're not good at maneuvering their forces. That means basically understanding the enemy's weakness and bringing the component forces that you have available to bear to break through the weakness and then exploit the breakthrough. And they haven't been able to do it. So the Ukrainians are not going to give that up. But as you know, Chris, because you and I have discussed this at some length, I don't think Putin wants an end to the war on anything like what the administration has been proposing. That's the irony of people criticizing the 28-point plan. I knew the Russians would never agree to that. Putin cannot end this war except on terms that turn Ukraine into a vassal state, which he's never going to get. We're never going to give him, and the Ukrainians would never agree to that. And so, because if he does it on any other terms, then it's like a public announcement that this whole policy, this whole war, which he started, was a disaster. And I think he's concerned if he does that, he's concerned for regime stability, which is the word for, surviving as the head of Russia. So that's the problem, is how to get him to the table when, from his perspective, continuing the war, even on a relatively static battlefield, is better than the alternative, the only other alternative he can get. That's the reason this is taking so long, because, and there's a real question whether we can increase the pain to him of continuing the war enough to get him to take the risk he would have to take to sign any kind of a reasonable agreement. So I expect the war to go on. And I almost think like we should start sending the signal to Putin. Well, you know what? This thing is costing you more than it's costing us. And we're going to stop running around after you trying to get you to sign an agreement. I mean, maybe that kind of a tactic would work.
Yeah, Senator, as you were just talking, I was thinking about some of the ancient conflicts around the globe that we all learned about in our younger years, the 30-year war, the 40-year war, just these conflicts that would kind of simmer and bubble and just go on for decades. Is that what you think we're kind of looking at here, unless something dramatic happens or the U.S. tries to really get more engaged?
Well, let's look at this from our perspective. I mean, we're not losing people.
Mm-hmm.
He is. He's the one who's had to bring in North Koreans to fight because he's running out of men. Yes, we're sending equipment over there, but most of it is paid for, and it supports our defense industrial base. And I think, I don't know, if Donald Trump called me up and asked me my advice, I would say, Mr. President, you've made a really good attempt to solve this thing. And I almost think like the more you try and solve it, the less willing Putin's going to be to solve it, because he figures that you'll just give him better and better terms, which I don't believe. I never believed the president was going to do. He's willing to trade territory in return for sovereignty and security for Ukraine. That's what all of our deals have proposed, and that's what Putin's not going to give. So I don't know. I think I'd just say, hey, it's really not a lot of skin off our nose if this thing continues. If the Ukrainians are willing to fight and you want to keep losing men and looking weak, which is what's happened to him, go ahead, and then let us know when you want to come to the table and you're serious about it.
And finally, Senator, I want to get your thoughts on the video that was put out last week by the 6 Congress people saying that our soldiers should not adhere to unlawful orders. Senator Mark Kelly, of course, has been saying over the weekend that he's being persecuted for a non-controversial statement of just saying that if you receive an illegal order, don't follow it. And he just thinks he's being persecuted by the president. Your thoughts on the video?
Senator Kelly knows that in the fog of war, our guys are and gals are soldiers and sailors and airmen and Marines and Space Force servicemen and women. They're not Philadelphia lawyers. They're supposed to follow their orders. And it's up to the higher authority to, as I said before, to establish clear rules of engagement and make sure that those rules comply with our own Army manual and Air Force manual and Code of Military Justice. I don't care that much about international law, except insofar as it's reflected in our own standards and our own rules. And so when you do what he's done, it does have a flavor of sedition to it. Now, I'm not for prosecuting people. I mean, I think we're going after almost too many people in that regard. But it was irresponsible, and he's suffering some political fallout, and he should.
And that is Senator Jim Talent, chairman of the Reagan Institute's National Leadership Council. On X, you can reach him at Jim Talent. Senator, thank you as always for your time. Have a great week, and we look forward to speaking with you again next Monday.
I'll look forward to it, too. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, sir. All right, 442 coming up. Cori Bush trying to reclaim her seat from Wesley Bell. Not getting a lot of love from her former squad members. I'll give you all the details on that coming up on the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show on 101.9, 94.1 News Talk STL.
It's the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show.
For the life of a deputy. When I say, I shot the sheriff, but the spirit wasn't so deep.
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
It's a first alert weather day. While the first intense band of snow has cleared the area, we're still looking at some light snow showers, and any accumulations on roadways will make them slick. Watch for slick going during that evening commute tonight, and keep an eye on the evening as another heavy wave and burst of heavy snow move into the area where additional 1 inch per hour snowfall rates are possible. That snow clears late tonight. Temperatures fall into the teens for many, and Tuesday is cold as well. With your first alert forecast, I'm meteorologist Leah Hill.
On the next Larry Connors USA.
Today's story behind the story. Jack Ruby.
Larry Connors USA. Now weeknights 6 until 8 on News Talk STL.
Hey, it's Susie Moore. If new flooring makes you think hassle, think again, because Michaels Flooring is changing the game. For over 30 years, Michaels has been locally owned and trusted for quality, variety, and amazing service. Whether it's carpet, hardwood, laminate, luxury vinyl, or ceramic tile, their expert team makes installing new floors exciting, not stressful. That's why customers keep coming back. Visit Michaels Flooring at St. Peter's, Darting Prairie, Creve Coeur, or online at igotfloored.com. That's igotfloored.com.
Hey, we need to talk. You're not sleeping. Your back hurts. You're tossing and turning like a rotisserie chicken. This is a sleep intervention. It's time to stop guessing and start snoozing. This Black Friday, get up to $600 off Beauty Rest Black, up to $900 off Stearns & Foster, and serious savings across the store. At Snooze, we use real Mayo Clinic pressure mapping technology to match you to the perfect mattress fast. Locally owned, fully stocked, ridiculously comfortable. Come in, lie down, change your life. If you don't snooze, you lose.
This hour of Jones and Arps is brought to you by Stifel. Contact your Stifel financial advisor at stifel.com. That's STIFEL.com.
Come here, man.
Follow us on Rumble at News Talk STL.
Do it, man.
Federal appeals court is now siding with a lower court ruling to disqualify President Trump's pick for New Jersey U.S. Attorney Alina Habba. So there is a 3-judge panel, and it ruled that the Trump administration used an illegal method to nominate Habba as the top prosecutor in the state. The judges wrote in their opinion that Trump administration's argument would effectively permit anyone to fill the U.S. attorney role indefinitely. And this case could see further appeal before a full panel of Third Circuit judges, or it could head to the Supreme Court.
445 on the Tim Jones and Chris Arp show. You know, the Democrats always talk about separation of powers, Tim, and I'm no constitutional expert or attorney, but I always thought that the president had the power to appoint judges, not 3-judge panels that appoint prosecutors, excuse me. Your thoughts on that, counselor?
There's one thing that's become patently obvious, Chris, from the beginning of Trump 2.0, and it's basically a continuance of Trump 1.0. Democrats cannot get over the fact that Donald Trump, the president of the United States, was elected to be the president of the United States. None of the things that he's doing, okay, every once in a while, maybe you can find something to quibble out about Donald Trump on the edges. Largely, these actions he's undertaking are what every single executive has done. They just hate the fact, Chris, that he's the one doing it.
And unfortunately, this may not be the only temporary, or what do you call them?
Appointment.
Alina Habba, of course, she was kind of thrown out last week. Lindsey Halligan's appointment was thrown out. A judge is set to hear oral arguments against John Sarcone III. Tim, he's the acting U.S. attorney for the Northern District of New York. He may be thrown out, and attorneys and authorities in California, Nevada are also challenging some U.S. attorneys there. So we may see a domino effect.
And in addition to the TDS that these Trump haters have, especially on the left, they almost despise some of the picks themselves as much as Trump himself. They, as you mentioned, they can't stand Hegseth. They can't stand Kash Patel. They can't stand Kristi Noem. They can't stand Alina Habba. Basically, they can't stand Stephen Miller because Donald Trump's got has some really good communicators around him, and they can't stand people who explain. They can't stand Scott Bessent, who's one of the most mild-mannered Treasury secretaries ever had. But they can't stand the guy because he's unflappable, and he says things that make sense. And Democrats don't have any good ideas anymore. And they have a party which is comprised of about, 50, 60% now, I think, that want to destroy America.
Yeah. The eyes of the nation, of course, Tim, will be on Tennessee tomorrow. That is that special election. We have that nut job. What was her name? Ashton or something?
Ashton. Strange name. Afton or something?
Yeah, it's spelled Aftyn. She's running against Mike Epps. Republicans are pulling out all the stops. It's a seat that Republicans should win. Donald Trump won that district by 22 points, but the latest polls are showing a 2-point lead by Epps, which is in the margin of error. Speaker Mike Johnson is down in Tennessee right now doing a rally for Mike Epps. The president held a tele rally this morning with Mike Epps, and the RNC chair is going to join a rally tonight. If this is not a blowout and Mike Epps wins by a few points, 5 points, Tim, all we're going to hear for the next couple of weeks is the MAGA faction. The MAGA is over. Republicans are going to get blown out in 2026. Your predictions, your thoughts on tomorrow's special election, and what does it mean ultimately for the party?
This is why in a two-party system, neither party should ever predict the obituary and the death of the other. Less than a few months ago, there were so many people out there saying, well, the Democrats got shellacked last November. They're over as a national party. They're never going to be successful again. They're absolutely crazy. When you only have two major parties, you're going to swing back and forth. I hate special elections because they always get nationalized. And unfortunately, it seems like the left these days has an unlimited supply of money, not just from within our country, but there's all these foreign billionaires like George Soros and Hans-Jörg Wyss. There's a new gangster in the UK, and they pour millions of dollars in. They try to motivate their base. Here's what I would say to Republicans. You can't be complacent when Donald Trump is not on the ballot. Donald Trump, more likely than not, that'll make some liberals nuts, will never be on a ballot ever again. So you're going to have to realize that it's not about a cult of personality. As much as I have loved Donald Trump as president of the United States, someone's going to come after him, and you better get excited about that person, whoever it is, and you better get excited about this special election if you want to save the country.
And one of the reasons why you cannot write another party's obituary is because we're a one-third nation. 1/3 of the country is Republican, 1/3 of the country is Democrats. The other 1/3 are the swishy in the middle independents who basically will be Republican one election, Democrat one election. They really can't make up their mind what their political philosophy is. And because of that, they're the ones that are the swinging these elections. And as you stated, Tim, Donald Trump will never be on a ballot again, and he motivates people to come out and vote. I think, as we've said many times here, I think it's a brilliant idea. The idea that Trump is floating a national convention next August in Las Vegas to drum up the party, to drum up the base, because Republicans traditionally don't come out as heavy during midterm elections as they do during primary elections. So brilliant idea by Trump or whoever gave him that idea. I think that should help ultimately.
We see that complacency, unfortunately, way too often in the country. And we see it here in Missouri. In Missouri, if we don't have an exciting candidate race, whatever it might be, but there's important things on the ballot, we see a lot of our ruby red Republican areas, they don't get out and vote. Like if Southwest Missouri and Southeast Missouri and all those rural areas came out to vote in every election, we would vote down some of these crazy ballot initiatives that get put on the ballot. But we have low voter turnout unless people. I don't understand.
And I think the Republicans are more engaged. It seems like Republicans usually are more engaged. That disappoints me, and I don't really totally understand that.
And I also don't understand why you need to be inspired to go vote. I just, if it's an election day, I go vote. And I wish everybody had that sense of duty. Because think about it. There's men and women 24/7, 365 around the globe putting their lives on the lines to protect that right to vote and all of our other freedoms. You should consider it part of your duty as an American to vote. But Chris, as we said, there's a lot of complacency in these special elections. There's a lot of complacency when big giant figures like Donald Trump or Ronald Reagan or somebody like that aren't on the ballot. We need Republicans to feel a sense of duty to vote every time, all the time.
And unfortunately, people don't have the same view of it as we do. We're political junkies. This is what we do. We understand the importance of getting out to vote. I think, unfortunately, and it's really everyone's fault, a lot of people just believe that my vote doesn't count. And no one listens to me anyway, so why should I go out and wait in line and for an hour to vote when it's really not going to make a difference? We've got to somehow change that mindset in the electorate as a whole. All right, Joy, let's do a little Carner.
Chris.
And if you don't know, now you know.
And now, Chris's Corner.
Well, as we know, Cori Bush is trying to reclaim her seat from Wesley Bell. You would think that the squad members would be all excited, especially since Wesley Bell is a big proponent of Israel. I saw him over in Israel when we were over there, Tim. So I would think he would have a target on his back for these radicals, but not so quick. Some members of the squad, they're being non-committal over whether they're ready to endorse former Representative Cori Bush, who is running for her old seat in Missouri. Nicholas Wu from Politico reports Bush was part of the squad before losing her 2024 primary, of course, against Representative Bell. I don't think I'm going to make any sort of announcement about any primaries, at least until January. That's what AOC said. I haven't really followed that race, said Representative Delia Ramirez. Representative Rashida Tlaib has signaled she'll back Bush, but hasn't made it official yet. The silence from some of the squad is likely less about falling out among the group. Yeah, right. Bush left it on good terms, and more about skittishness around endorsing candidates running against incumbents. That's absolutely BS because Wesley Bell may be an incumbent, but he's no fan of theirs. He loves Israel. He's pro-Israel. So I think that is completely BS. Ocasio-Cortez privately committed to her caucus last year not to do so. Of course, Congresswoman Cori Bush, she says she's focused on St. Louis, Tim, not the D.C. chatter, who adds that more endorsements are coming later for him. Hey, guess who got married over the weekend? And I don't believe for a minute that this is legitimate marriage. I think he's doing this because he's running for president. Spartacus, Tim, got married over the weekend.
Did he really?
Yeah, he married his partner, Alexis Lewis. A marriage convenient, if you ask me. I feel that Cory Booker is light in the loafers, and I don't for a minute think that he is a straight male. He is gay. He should just come out and admit it. You know, his party supports that. He could run for president, could possibly win. They've been talking about Pete Buttigieg, how he's a presidential candidate. Just embrace who you are, man. Don't put up a front. We know you're gay. All right. And that's my opinion. House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries has wrote a new Dear Colleague letter this morning,
no.
Tim. He's introducing a discharge petition for an up or down vote on a 3-year. You know, we've heard 2-year extensions of the ACA, a 3-year extension of the ACA credits. D.C. Councilmember Janice Lewis George taking a look at New York, how a Democratic Socialist won there. She, a self-proclaimed Democratic Socialist, announced she will be running for mayor in 2026, becoming the first high-profile candidate to enter the race after Mayor Muriel Bowser announced she would forgo a second term. And Representative Nancy Mace, we're going to the Republicans here for a minute, not getting a lot of support. Her campaign manager, J. Austin McCubbin, resigned today. He said, quote, Mace has yet again decided to turn her back on MAGA to hug the political cactus that is Rand Paul and Thomas Massie wing of the party. Wow. I am 100% breaking with her campaign out of loyalty to the president. He has called on Trump to withdraw his support for her, saying, scratch her name from the list. There has been another high-profile retirement. Representative Troy Nehls, Republican from Texas, he has announced that he plans to retire as well. With these retirements and with the special elections that are coming up, Speaker Johnson could literally have a 2-seat majority by around April or May when all these special elections are done. So it's going to be very tight in the House. If you're a political junkie, keep tuned. You're going to love this. You're listening to the Tim Jones. That is Chris's Corner. I'm sorry. Speaker Stone speech, Tim.
The similarities between the original Pilgrims and what they tried to do and what Mondami might do once again in New York City.
And Susie Moore, deputy managing editor of Red State, she'll talk to us about Nome on the shooting of the National Guard. Listening to the Tim Jones and Chris Arps show on 101.9, 94.1 News Talk STL.
Tim Jones here to let you know that as we deal with old man winter, have no fear. Hanson's Tree Service is here to take care of your homestead, your business, and everything else throughout the winter months. Hanson's is offering 10% off all their tree care services, fully described at hansonstree.com for everyone in News Talk STL Nation. That's 10% off all tree care, pruning, grinding, and land clearing, and more. Hanson's also, of course, has plenty of fantastic organic mulch to protect all your landscape beds during the mean months ahead. No job too big or too small for Hanson's. 24/7 available at hansonstree.com. That's hansonstree.com.
Hello, Kirk Hilsinger, chairman of the Republican Party for the city of St. Louis. We complain about dark, out-of-state money being used to influence Missouri politics, and we actively have that going on right now. Out-of-state interests from as far as Ohio and Michigan are collecting signatures to bypass what your state legislators have done this summer. We request you decline to sign these petitions. For more information, see us at stl-gop.com.
Paid for by St. Louis City Republican PAC, Curtis Farber, Treasurer.
St. Louis, it's here. The bigger than Black Friday at Renewal by Anderson. For a limited time, get the biggest dollars off savings of 2025. $330 off every window. $830 off every patio or entry door. Plus, you may have no payments and zero interest. Renewal by Anderson. Unprecedented winner of the prestigious J.D. Power Award For customers, 6 years in a row. Renewal by Anderson, full-service window and door replacement division of Anderson, a name you've trusted for more than 122 years. $330 off every window, $830 off every patio or entry door. Schedule your consultation today at rbastl.com or call 877-WINDOWS. 877-WINDOWS. Renewal by Anderson. Award-winning quality, bigger savings, smarter investment.
KLGY HD3 Clayton, K270BW Bellefontaine, KNBS Bowling Green. This is News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1, and always streaming at newstalkstl.com.
News this hour from Town Hall. I'm Keith Peters in Washington. At a news conference, West Virginia Governor Patrick Morrisey provides an update on the 2nd National Guard member shot last week, U.S. Air Force Staff Sergeant Andrew Wolf.
I want to say I'm not the doctor. I'm not going to try to pretend to be so. What I will say is that Andrew remains in serious condition. We did have some positive news that we were told that Andrew was asked if he could hear. The nurse who asked the question, he gave a thumbs up, and he did respond. And we were told that he also wiggled his toes. So we take that as a positive sign.
Another member of the West Virginia National Guard, U.S. Army Specialist Sarah Beckstrom, 20, was killed in the shooting. President Trump says he'll release the results of his MRI test that he received in October. White House correspondent Greg Clugston reports.
Responding to questions about his MRI, the president told reporters, "If you want to have it released, I'll release it." He claimed the results were perfect, but added that he has no idea what part of his body was being examined. Until now, the White House has only said that the president received advanced imaging at Walter Reed National Military Medical Center as part of his routine physical examination. Greg Clugston, Washington.
President Trump's ex-lawyer Alina Habba has been disqualified from serving as New Jersey's top federal prosecutor. A federal appeals court said Monday the Trump administration's maneuvers to keep Habba in the role were contrary to federal laws governing appointments. On Wall Street, the Dow down by 427 points, the Nasdaq dropped 89, the S&P declined 36. More at townhall.com.
The following is not an actor, but a real-life story from Trinity Debt Management.
Every day I speak with people who are worried and are feeling a lot of pressure because of credit card debt. That's why I'm very proud of what we do at Trinity. We just help. We give people the support they need, along with a real plan to become debt-free. Credit card bills are consolidated into a single monthly payment that is much less than what they were paying before. Most of our members end up saving thousands and even may improve their credit scores by as much as 200 points. I know from the bottom of my heart that I'm making a difference in the lives of the people we help. It just makes me really happy.
If credit card debt has you down, call Trinity at 1-800-990-6976.
My name is Julie, and I'm a Trinity counselor. Call me and become debt-free for keeps.
1-800-990-6976.
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
It's a first alert weather day. While the first intense band of snow has cleared the area, we're still looking at some light snow showers, and any accumulations on roadways will make them slick. Watch for slick going during that evening commute tonight, and keep an eye on the evening as another heavy wave and burst of heavy snow move into the area where additional 1 inch per hour snowfall rates are possible. That snow clears late tonight. Temperatures fall into the teens for many, and Tuesday is cold as well. With your first alert forecast, I'm meteorologist Leah Hill.
This hour of News Talk STL is brought to you by Stifel, serving investors for over 130 years. Contact your Stifel financial advisor at stifel.com. That's STIFEL.com.
Hey, it's Vic Porcelli here with our great friend Chris Cooper from Serenity Wealth Management. Hi, Chris.
How are you, Vic?
I don't want to put anybody else down, but that when you go up and visit you at Serenity Wealth, your place looks like home.
So a lot of financial advisory offices, they have, the big mahogany desk or the big marble entryways and things like that. The stock market channel on the TV when you walk in the door, right? That doesn't really drive a good conversation. Good financial guidance and advice starts with a good conversation. People are nervous. People are afraid to talk about finances, right? And so you can see a little standoffish. Well, my objective is to try to have a good, casual conversation. By having those conversations about life, goals, objectives, it's what makes me understand what our financials are supposed to fund.
So if somebody does want to have a good conversation, how do they do that? How do they find you?
Our website is the best way to do that because you can get all the information you need, understand where we are, get a little bit more information, all that. SerenityWealthNow.com.
Reach out to Chris and Stacy today at SerenityWealthNow.com.
Investment advice offered through Fortis Capital Advisors, LLC.
This is News 4 Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton, and we're proud to be the official winter weather source for News Talk STL. The First Alert Weather Team is working hard to keep you ahead of the big weather changes and help you plan your day. So stay connected this winter with Channel 4 and News Talk STL.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps in the afternoon.
The 9 most terrifying words in the English language are, I'm from the government and I'm here to help.
The more you remove voting from Election Day, the more opportunity you're offering for people to commit fraud.
Are you not entertained? Are you not entertained?
I think the Democrats are so short-sighted in this tactic they have now to just cheat at any cost to win elections.
You're a lying dog-faced pony soldier. You said you were, but now you got to be honest. I'm going to be honest with you.
What are we doing wrong here? As a former leader in the House, I think you can put your finger on it. It's called leadership. We don't have it.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps.
Does Minnesota have a problem with gangs roving the streets?
Every state has a problem with crime. But what the president has done here is taken a horrific crime that occurred in Washington, D.C., where one beloved Guard member is still struggling for his life. Another was shot and killed. And the perpetrator, the murderer, is behind bars and being prosecuted. He took that case and then he went 2,400 miles away to Somalia and somehow indicted an entire group of people, 80,000 of them in my state, as well as later all naturalized citizens, 24 million people in the United States of America. This is what he does, and he tries to stoke division and make people hate each other.
Well, your state's a disaster, Senator Amy Klobuchar. And as usual, Chris, every single problem that the Democrats cause in their own backyards is somehow always everyone else's fault. And boy, isn't it convenient that Donald Trump is a useful foil for all of them. What are they going to do after he's out of office?
I mean, they just live in a state of denial. We've all seen the reports about Somali gangs in Minnesota roving the streets,
yes,
creating havoc in Minnesota and in Minneapolis particularly. We've all seen that. I mean, they just live in a state of denial. They always try to twist everything to try to make you seem like you're some type of racist or xenophobe when, you know, these are just the news reports telling us what's happening in your state, Senator.
It's become a mainstream, mainline joke. And as uncomfortable as it might make you feel, the joke is that they refer to Dearborn now as Dearbornistan. I've had people send me photographs from Main Street, USA, Dearborn, where all of the street signs are in Arabic, you know? And look, no problem with people from every part of the globe coming to the United States and being a part of the great American melting pot, or as someone said last week, the great American salad bar. Hey, whatever analogy makes you feel good about yourself, fine. But you have to assimilate into our foundational principles of freedom, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, not strict adherence to Sharia law and the jihad.
And when you don't assimilate, and I've said this before, you have Quebec up in Canada, where you have a group that speaks French, have their own culture. Everything is in French up there in the street signs. And every few years, there's a movement for them to secede from Canada. You see the same thing in Spain, where there's a separate group that wants to, they never assimilate.
France.
Yeah, in France as well, in Spain and everywhere. So, you know, assimilate.
France is bad. And you know what, Chris? Here's the thing. Our American media, the national media, does not cover those problem hotspots around the globe because it doesn't fit their narrative. They can't talk about the destructive aspects of unfettered, unmitigated immigration into places like Paris, because then they would have to talk about the violence and the rapes and the assaults that the Parisians have to deal with on a daily basis. There is great unrest right now in the major metropolitan areas of France, and our American media ignores it like it doesn't exist.
And you remember the viral video that came out over the summer of the young British girl. She was about 13 or 14 years old, had to pull out a knife because some Muslim man was attempting to rape her.
Yep. It was like a scene from that Disney cartoon. What's the one, Joey, with the redheaded Viking gal?
Brave with Merida.
Brave. Yeah. Brave. Remind me of a scene from Brave. This cute little gal. She was Scottish or something. It was in northern England. And she had to pull out a knife because some dude was trying to molest her
in her own country.
And I think she got in trouble for pulling the knife out from the authorities.
Yeah.
That's how upside down the world is now.
Yeah.
It's really a dangerous place. And we're trying to keep some stuff. And look, the stuff that's happening in Minnesota, I have a connection to Minnesota because I happen to be born there. My dad was stationed there during Vietnam, near the end of Vietnam in 1971. Mom and dad were moved up there for a couple of years, so I just happened to be born there. Then they moved back home to St. Louis. But when I hear stories about Minnesota, I think about all the stories my parents used to tell me about what it used to be like there and how it's just been overrun. And again, not overrun with immigrants, overrun with people who want to do our nation harm.
Yeah, and
That's
won't
the problem.
assimilate into the American culture.
Yeah. What's her face? Which one is it in the squad? Rashida Tlaib, right? No. Who's from Somalia?
I know you're talking.
Is it Tlaib?
No, that she's Palestinian.
Ilhan Omar.
Yeah.
Ilhan Omar. She talks about how she wants to basically bring Somalia to the U.S. Well, then why'd you leave Somalia in the first place? Somalia is a dangerous country. She's won the golden ticket. She's a U.S. Congresswoman, and she basically loves nothing about the country, which she has taken an oath to defend its constitution.
Yeah, if you want a good view of Somalia, and it hasn't changed much since this incident, go watch Black Hawk Down.
Mm-hmm.
The country has not changed much from that 30-year event.
It's sad. It's sad, but the United States of America is a safe haven for so many people around the globe. Yeah. The last thing we want to do, Chris, is have this place also suffer the fate of some of those other broken nations. Where are you going to go after you? Where do you go after the U.S.? There is no better, higher, greater nation.
I agree.
And that's the problem. Hey, all right. Enough of that soapbox. We've got to. One thing we should mention: our food drive continues. We did not end the food drive with Thanksgiving because we know heading into what looks like it could be a real winter. Now that I said that, watch us have like 60-degree days in January. But we're just now entering into what is usually a challenging Midwest heartland winter. That's why we're continuing our food drive all the way until December 21st, all the way until we dive deep into the holiday season, Hanukkah, Christmas, etc., and so forth. So please continue. Chris, I just checked our barrel outside our office here. It's nearly full.
All right.
I think it's been emptied at least once already.
Yeah, it came by last week. And
Tom came by, right?
Yeah, Blue Leader, Tom Wilson. Yeah. Thank you, Tom.
Thank you, Tom. There are, I believe, a total of 10 giant red barrels all over the region. If you want to find out where they are, trust me, there is one near you. Just go to newstalkstl.com. They're at the Chris's Pancake locations. They're at the Bartolino's locations. They're at the Michael's Flooring locations and more. Check out newstalkstl.com. Participate in our awesome canned food drive. You can also drop off new unwrapped toys. You can drop off new unwrapped toiletry items, hygiene products, anything that's non-perishable that people could need at this time of year. We are, as Chris always says, we are a generous nation. We can take care of each other if everybody does their part, not being forced to by the government, but because you want to express charity and love during this wonderful season. Drop off stuff in the red buckets.
Does Zootopia have toys?
Did you not go to McDonald's over the weekend and collect all 8?
I have improved my diet, so I don't go to fast food restaurants as much.
Oh, okay.
As much.
Of course. Zootopia 2 has all the toys in there, making them in China and selling them in China.
That's executive producer Joey V. Let's see. I checked outside. It looks like the Snowmageddon is over.
Okay.
The streets seem quiet.
It's supposed to start again at 6, my wife told me.
Claire, okay. So be careful going home. But
another 2 inches coming your way.
Yes.
Be careful overnight if you're out and about. Hey, thank you to all the law enforcement, the first responders, the people who don't get tonight off. They don't get to be home in their cozy, comfy beds. Thank you for everybody. Be careful out there. Give everybody enough room and space. I think they'll get these roads clear tonight. The problem was, Chris, they sent everybody home in the middle of the day. And so all the roads became a parking lot and they couldn't salt or treat them. We didn't get that much snow.
Yeah.
It just got all mashed down and then froze because it's like 22 degrees.
I was wondering what's up with that because we knew yesterday that it was going to be a snowstorm, and I was kind of surprised that the roads weren't treated.
A little more treatment. Yeah, let's do better, MoDOT. Indeed.
We're not St. Louis City. Come on.
For sure.
Nick Strower said it took him 5 hours to get home.
5 hours?
St. Peter's to Defiance.
Good.
Oh, my
grief.
God.
He needs a helicopter.
Yeah, he was on 64 the whole time, and it was just a mess.
Good thing he could listen to News Talk STL during that entire time.
Sure, he enjoyed every minute of it, and he might have been listening on the app. Yeah, just download the app to your phone. That way you don't have to worry about FM signals. We have got 2 great FM signals, 101.9, 94.1. But if you ever can't get them for whatever reason, you can always get your phone to go live with News Talk STL. All right, as I mentioned, there is a comparison between the original Pilgrims and the first experiment that they tried and what Mondami is offering for New York City. Let's get to that and explain it. And yes, as Chris remembered, it has to do with a famous Rush Limbaugh anecdote. We'll do that now and next on today's Speaker Stump Speech.
Listen to me, listen to me.
I'm very consistent. I'm a very stable genius.
It's time for the Speaker Stump Speech, sponsored by Hanson's Tree Service at hansonstree.com.
As Chris and our good friend Paul Hamby rightfully remembered, Rush Limbaugh made this comparison often when he was talking about the socialists of his genre. If Rush was around today and he's looking down on us from above, he'd be making this comparison once again between the original Pilgrim experiment and what Zoran Mondami wants to relitigate in New York City. Have we learned nothing from history? Paul starts out with his Liberty Thought of the Week by saying this: New Yorkers recently elected an outspoken self-described socialist, Zoran Mondami, as the next mayor of New York City. He campaigned on increasing the role of government. Yeah, folks, I mean, this guy didn't hide it. He told everyone exactly what he intended to do. Have Americans forgotten the true original story of Thanksgiving? The one that didn't work out so well until they decided to change course. The lesson is largely about the failures of socialism. Here's that history lesson from 400 years ago. Teach it now to your children and grandkids. In 1620, the Pilgrims came to America to escape religious persecution, find freedom, and a better way of life. We talk about that often, but do you know, as Paul Harvey would say, the rest of the story? The brave families who sailed to America wanted so badly to no longer live in poverty that they risked literally everything to come here. The Pilgrims organized themselves originally into a political entity, a colony where everyone worked for the good of the whole colony. Everyone's work was donated because it was, quote, for the greater good. Essentially, they were a commune where the fruits of one's labor was turned over to the government. That is actually what socialism is inherently. Colony Governor William Bradford wrote in his diary, quote, by 1623, it became clear this system was not working. The men were not eager to work in the fields, since if they worked hard, they would have to share their produce with everyone else. People who had formerly been known for their virtue and hard work became lazy and unproductive. Resources were squandered. Vegetables were allowed to rot on the ground. People were starving. Some of the colonists died of disease or starvation. Dr. Paul Jaley, director of the Plymouth Rock Foundation, explains, in modern terminology, within the first century of our nation's existence, the Pilgrims, followed by the Puritans, experimented with the forced common ownership of property, price controls, and minimum wage laws. Exactly what Mondami wants to do in New York City, people. The result was a documented, dismal failure of such practices. The Pilgrims, and then their larger Puritan neighbors, discovered by experience that the free market taught in the scriptures was the best system, only to have it threatened again by the mercantile trade laws of George III beginning in 1760, the result of which was eventually our War for Independence. John Stossel once wrote, private property protects us from what economists call the tragedy of the commons. The commons is a shared resource. That means it's really owned by no one, and no one person has much incentive to protect it or develop it. When property rights are tossed aside, even for the sake of religious fellowship or in the name of the working class. People just don't work as hard. And as Chris remembered, Rush Limbaugh once said, one of the most important legacies of early American settlers is that they experimented with socialism in the 1620s and it didn't work. Socialism does not work. The one and only source of abundance is free markets. Rush would be saying the same thing once again, because it appears that Ugandan-born New York City Mayor-elect Zoran Mondami never listened to Rush Limbaugh. The colony thrived once a new economic plan based on free market trade and private property ownership was adopted. It was one of the world's most important lessons in the shortcomings of a socialist society. Once again, an experiment that is now over 400 years old, right here on our very shores. This was the beginning of the American free market system. It made our country the strongest economy of the world when they finally went back to free markets and capitalism. DiLorenzo writes in his book, How Capitalism Saved America, on the eve of the American Revolution, capitalism had made the American colonists wealthier, taller, and in better health than their British counterparts. Lessons learned from the Pilgrim's experiment. Collectivism violates the laws of human nature. It takes away motivation, pride, and initiative. It's always failed. Always. It failed in 1620. It failed the Soviet Union in the 70s and 80s with a starving population. It has failed consistently in Haiti and Cuba. It failed in New Zealand in the 1980s. North Korea and Venezuela will not celebrate free market abundance this year. Free market economies create wealth and raise everyone's standard of living. Just compare Argentina prior to 2023 as a socialist country where it is today with President Javier Milei, transforming it into a thriving free market with a much smaller government. Here in Missouri, we must keep a vigilant eye that we don't slip towards a more collectivist economy by programs that sound great but don't often work so well. TIFs, economic development, economic stimulus, eminent domain, shovel-ready jobs, clean energy, and public-private partnerships. All those programs are based on government central planning, a concept that failed the Pilgrim colonists and failed elsewhere all over the globe time and time again when you're forced to give your money and your assets, quote, for the general good of the colony. The Missouri State Legislature convenes in January. We must hold all of our elected accountable to the principles that made America great and will make America great again. And that's the Speaker's stump speech for today.
You know, one thing that did surprise me, Israel is a democracy. It's a very capitalistic country, but we did see socialism, Tim, when we were over there, when we visited the kibbutzes. It amazed me, but that was a socialist commune system where in those kibbutzes, no one owns their home. No one owns their car. They have cars that everyone can borrow if they need to go out. They grow their own food. They all share in that. And I think that works because it's a religious community. I think as a countrywide, that would not work. But it was kind of interesting to me that as entrepreneurial and as capitalistic as these folks were, that there are bits of communism, or not communism, socialism that works there, and it's on those kibbutzes.
I think it works on a really small, when you have a small scale. Yeah. And look, families operate, we give our kids everything they need. That is social. So it works in small instances where everybody's on the same page.
Right.
The minute somebody doesn't get on the same page and is like, well, if Bob over there is going to work hard, that I guess I really don't need to, then it falls apart. Yeah. We see some northern Nordic countries where there's some aspects, but they also have injected a lot of free market capitalism in as well. On the whole, when you're talking about a giant nation, it usually falls apart.
And I think a lot of, like I said, it works because they are very religious communities as well. And those are biblical principles that they are trying to adhere to. And I think that's why it works. But it would not work society-wide, I think.
They guilt themselves into it. And most Americans, unfortunately, you give them a fish and they never want to learn how to fish again.
Did that surprise you when we went to the kibbutzes that it was that was like that?
A little bit, but it's such a small, almost family unit, that I'm like, okay, it could work on this level, but not much bigger than this. Right. Indeed. All right, 5:23 in the Heartline. Susie Moore coming up next. We're going to talk to her about Kristi Noem's comments on the National Guard shooting suspect. And a top Zelensky aide has resigned. For what, you may ask? We'll tell you next when we talk to the great Susie Moore here on the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show, 1019 94.1 News Talk STL.
Smoking in the boys' room. Now, teacher, don't you feel me? Up with your rules. For everybody knows that smoking ain't allowed in school.
Follow us on Rumble at News Talk STL.
Making sure the coast is clear. Looking in the stalls. No, there ain't nobody here.
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
It's a first alert weather day. While the first intense band of snow has cleared the area, we're still looking at some light snow showers, and any accumulations on roadways will make them slick. Watch for slick going during that evening commute tonight, and keep an eye on the evening as another heavy wave and burst of heavy snow move into the area where additional 1 inch per hour snowfall rates are possible. That snow clears late tonight. Temperatures fall into the teens for many, and Tuesday is cold as well. With your first alert forecast, I'm meteorologist Leah Hill.
If you have a phone, you have a radio.
Download the all-new News Talk STL app.
Love the all-new News Talk STL app.
On my way to work in the morning.
Usually in the car.
I listen on the app in my car every morning going to work.
Download the News Talk STL app and listen anytime, anywhere.
Hey, if you're like me, you don't need a bank with a skyscraper in New York or a call center overseas, or you can't understand the people half the time. You need a bank that knows St. Louis streets, St. Louis families, and St. Louis dreams. That's what Royal Banks delivers. Real community banking backed by decades of trust and local commitment. Because at the end of the day, banking isn't just about dollars. It's about relationships. It's about sitting across from someone who understands our community because they're part of it. Someone who doesn't just see an account, they see your goals, your business, your family, your future. And that's why I've been banking with Royal Banks of Missouri for over 20 years. Royal Banks has been serving our region for more than 60 years, and they just reaffirmed that commitment with a brand new headquarters in University City, right at Olive and McKnight, bringing their home base back to where it all began. And they're just not rooted here. They're thriving here. In September, Royal Banks was named the 23rd fastest growing private company in St. Louis and the fastest growing bank at the 2025 St. Louis Business Journal Fast 50 Awards. 16 locations across St. Louis, St. Charles, Illinois, even in Northeast Missouri with our 94.1 audience. They're still locally owned, still independent, still community strong. Visit royalbanksofmo.com today, royalbanksofmo.com to learn more. Royal Banks of Missouri, member FDIC, equal housing lender.
This is the story of the one. As a custodial supervisor at a high school, he knows that during cold and flu season, germs spread fast. It's why he partners with Grainger to stay fully stocked on the products and supplies he needs, from tissues to disinfectants to floor scrubbers, all so that he can help students, staff, and teachers stay healthy and focused. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Oh no, stomach issues again?
Stomach issues?
Who are you?
Your pancreas. I could be the real reason for your diarrhea, gas, bloating, stomach pain, or loose oily stools.
I thought it was my stomach.
People often do, but any of these symptoms could mean having a condition called exocrine pancreatic insufficiency, or EPI. With EPI, the pancreas doesn't release enough enzymes to break down food, but EPI is manageable. Use the symptom checker on identifyepi.com and speak with your doctor. That's identifyepi.com. Sponsored by AbbVie.
This Susie Moore segment brought to you by Harpo's Bar and Grill in Chesterfield.
If you see me walking down the line with my favorite honky-tonkin' nine, well, I'll be here around supper time with my can of dinner and a bunch of wine. Kids and Hellraiser.
It's the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show.
Secretary Noem, why did he drive across the country and carry out this brazen attack in Washington?
We do believe this individual, when they came into the country, we know he was unvetted. He was brought into the country by the Biden administration through Operation Allies Welcome, and then maybe vetted after that, but not done well based on what the guidelines were put forward by President Biden. And now, since he's been here, we believe he could have been radicalized in his home community and in his home state.
Welcome back to the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show. It is 5:29 in the Heartland. And we want you all to be very careful as you're out and about and heading home
Yes.
tonight on the roads. One lady who seems like she works 24/7 here at the news station is our next guest.
Oh, Susie Q, baby, I love you.
Susie Q.
I'm the boss. How about that?
As she remains the deputy managing editor at redstate.com, co-host of the Mike Ferguson in the Morning Show, the host of Red State Radio Sundays at 4 p.m. and more. Susie Moore joining us once here again. Susie, we all watched with great horror what happened on Thanksgiving Eve last week, the shooting of 2 National Guardsmen who were doing nothing more than trying to protect our nation's capital, attacked by what many believe was a radicalized foreign national. Susie, you're covering this story. Please tell us what we know up to this point and what more we've discovered since last week.
Well, we don't know a lot more than was disclosed, really, I think, the day after the shooting. He was identified as a 29-year-old Afghan national who worked in some capacity with the U.S. military in Afghanistan and may have been vetted to the degree of being able to do that work, but it doesn't appear that he was vetted in terms of, relocating to the U.S. and taking up permanent residence here. He came in after the fall of Kabul in September of 2021 and apparently is married and has 5 kids. It's a little murky. But there's a lot of questions that remain. And Secretary Noem did indicate yesterday that what they're looking at is indicating that he was radicalized once he got here. I would be interested to know what it is they're basing it on, but that seems to me to indicate that he must have been in some, sort of communication with others, or, been pursuing information or ideas online that led them to that conclusion. There's a lot of unanswered questions, but the most important one is, who are we letting in and what are we doing to ensure that they aren't someone who is intent on doing harm to Americans and others here in our country?
Susie, all eyes are on Tennessee, that special election that will be held tomorrow. Speaker Mike Johnson is down there. President Trump did a tele rally earlier in the day. President Trump won this district by 22 points, but the latest polls show Matt Van Epps, is ahead by a couple of points, which is in the margin of error. What will this election tell us tomorrow, do you think?
Well, I think if for whatever reason Van Epps does not secure a win, that is something definitely for Republicans to be very concerned about, because this is viewed as a relatively safe red district. And, maybe Van Epps he's not Mark Green. He's not, he's not the familiar incumbent candidate, but to my knowledge, he is an okay candidate and one that the voters in that district who want to further the Trump agenda clearly, you would think would get behind. There is an enthusiasm gap. Republicans are not apparently getting the word out to get out the vote and how important it is. Hopefully those who are there on the ground are doing that, and enough voters are aware of that they do get out and support this candidate. His opponent, not only is she a Democrat, so therefore not in line with the Trump agenda, but seems to have a lot of vitriol and disregard for the district she claims to want to represent. So I would think that if that would motivate people as well, but I will see.
Susie, Pam Bondi stated recently, if you're a narco terrorist, so now we're talking about a different form of terror. We're under attack by a lot of terrorists right now, aren't we? If you're a narco terrorist, we're coming after you. Susie, what's the latest, greatest or not so greatest that you've uncovered regarding our actions down southward?
Well, Bondi, I think, made a point yesterday when she was on Fox News Sunday with Shannon Bream to basically say, look, this is our policy. These organizations have been designated as foreign terrorist organizations because they've been poisoning the American population by, the hundreds of thousands, the tens of thousands, And we are going to pursue this aggressively within the bounds of the law. And she made a point to say that. Caroline Leavitt from the podium today and the press briefing basically said the same. She laid out kind of the chain of command and who gave the orders to destroy the one that's the boat, the incident that's become the story that the Washington Post wrote and is trying to claim was an unlawful order. I think that occurred on September 2nd. This is the chain of command. This is the laws that they're operating under. And I keep coming back to the fact that the Seditious Six, which they've now earned that nickname, trot out this little video about don't give up the ship, and then kind of do this little, I don't really know, when pressed to elaborate on what so-called illegal orders they're contemplating in that video. And then, days later, it wasn't even a week later, there's this anonymously sourced WAPO article about, there was this order, this incident in September about this Venezuelan drug vessel, and we think there was an illegal order. It's like, oh, well, how convenient is that? You don't think there's any coordination going on here, do you?
Indeed. Susan, we know that Ukraine has been corrupt for years. President Biden, former President Biden's son, Hunter Biden, was caught up in the Ukrainian gas company, a scandal. Zelensky's top aide resigned last week. I think he was also a negotiator for the war. He has left. How much do we know about the situation? Is he implicated in stealing some of this $50 to $100 million, I think it was, or what do we know about this?
Not a whole lot. I mean, I will say this. I wrote the article up on his resignation. And at that point, there just wasn't a lot known other than it was, is this going to throw a wrinkle in the ongoing peace discussion, since he was playing a pretty prominent role in that. And they said, no, we're going to continue on, that sort of thing. But I haven't gone back and dug back into it to see what else we've learned since then, if anything about it. I mean, it's a little bit opaque in terms of we've all got this sense that there's a lot of corruption in that country, and it's hard to know who the good guys and the bad guys are in some respects. Setting aside the fact that they were wrongfully invaded by Russia, I'm not talking about that. I'm just saying just within Ukraine and the government itself. So I don't know. I don't have an answer to that, but I don't know. It's fascinating to me how much time, energy, effort, and attention has gone into this particular country, going back a decade and a half now. It to me raises all kinds of questions about who all the players are. Follow the money, as they say, and I suspect that there is a lot more entanglement with some facets of our entrenched bureaucracy, let's say, than some want to let on. And I think that was what spurred the entire, first impeachment effort against Donald Trump, because he was like, hey, let's look into this. And all of a sudden it was like, oh, you had a phone call and you said, let's look into this. We got to impeach you.
Speaking to Susie Moore, Deputy Managing Editor at redstate.com, co-host of the Mike Ferguson in the Morning Show, and so much more. Susie, it's so comical to watch the national corporate media twist themselves into knots trying to find something wrong with Donald Trump or to attack him on something or other. They couldn't give a rip, Susie, the last 4 years about whether Joe Biden was comatose and able to form sentences or not. But now there's this infatuation with Trump's health. And he released his MRI results today, and there's been physician notes that have come out. Susie, I mean, hypocrisy. Thy name is national corporate media, right?
Oh, completely. It's like, if you'd put this much effort into scrutinizing the Biden administration, we would have all been almost on the same page. But no, yeah, I mean, he has a bruise on his hand, and it's like, oh my gosh, the world's ending. The guy's almost 80 years old. We see him every day. We literally see him every day. We see him out on the golf course. We see him behind the Resolute desk signing away. We see him just riffing with reporters on Air Force One. Is he almost 80? Yeah, but he's a darn healthy almost 80 and clearly very engaged in his presidency. And, when you look at what he's accomplished in the less than a year he's been in office, it's pretty hard to make a convincing argument that he isn't up to the task. So, but of course, they're just going to try and go after whatever they possibly can, throw everything at the wall that they can, and see what sticks. I don't know who, other than those who are delirious with Trump derangement syndrome, buys that argument. Like, who is the audience for that, other than just, is it just red meat for the already set up fan base for this? I don't know. I don't know that it persuades anybody who's of a moderate bent and maybe independent minded.
Susie, Democrats are doing what they normally do when a Republican is president. They're trying to talk the economy into a recession. Adobe has said that consumers have spent more than $111 billion since the start of October. That's a 7.1% improvement over last year. And MasterCard said Black Friday in-store and online retail sales were up 4.1%. Did you contribute to this growth during the past holidays?
I'm trying to think if I did technically, because I bought a couple of things like Tuesday or Wednesday before Thanksgiving, and I did order one or two things online over the weekend. So I'm going to say yes.
Hey, all right.
Speaking to Susie Moore of Red State. Susie, I was looking at some of the other top stories on Red State today. What is this? Susie, I don't know if you know anything about this. It's written by your colleague, Becky Noble. Father and sons face up to 25 years for honor killing. Their defense will make your blood boil. Susie, this is kind of in line with some of the other stories we've been discussing today, I do think.
It is. Now, this happened in the Netherlands, but there was a young woman who was murdered allegedly by her two brothers and her father, because she was adopting Western ways. She, I think, filmed a TikTok of herself without her head covering on and with makeup on. And the brothers lured her, allegedly, to this location, kind of isolated location. Her hands and feet were bound. She was basically drowned, and she was found several days or a week later. And this is the thing that gets me. This is a so-called honor killing. That's the defense. The brothers' defense is this was an honor killing. This is our culture. This is part of our culture. It's an honor killing. But the story goes, as soon as this happened, the dad fled the country, I think, back to Syria. And the brothers are saying, well, we didn't do it. It was him. So I think it's really interesting that in the context of an honor killing, which they're using as a defense, the dad fled and the brothers are blaming him. Like, oh, that's really honorable too. So it's mind-boggling. And I know it's not isolated to the Netherlands. We've had instances of it here in the U.S., but it kind of highlights the fact that there are some elements of that culture that they're not acceptable to us, and it isn't part of Western culture. And it's like, okay, if you're going to emigrate to a Western nation, you don't get to carry that part of your culture with you and just say, oh, well, that's the way we do it.
You guys remember we had an honor killing here in St. Louis several years ago. It was the Palestinian.
Well, there was one in 1989.
Was that the one where the FBI was listening in on this guy because they suspected him?
I didn't believe it was 1989, but yes, it was.
Was it that long ago? Wow.
I know. Isn't it crazy?
Yeah, I remember that.
It is, yes. Susie Moore, thanks for everything. Susie, are you were you on today? I don't know what time I tuned into the show. Are you back tomorrow?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. So yeah, I was on today. I am not there tomorrow. Mike is back tomorrow, but I will be back on Wednesday, and we'll be back to our regularly scheduled program.
Very, very good. We're in the holiday swing now, where we've got everybody in and out and back and forth, but the shows will always go on, won't they?
Jesus.
They will, absolutely.
Ferguson hasn't worked since October, has he? It seems like
he's taking some well-deserved days off, and I appreciate the fact that they trust me to fill in for him when he does. But I like it when he's there too.
Susie's doing the heavy lifting. Deputy Managing Editor, RedState.com, co-host of Mike Ferguson in the Morning, host of Red State Radio, and so much more. Check her out at SmoozyQ on Twitter X. Susie, we'll be listening tomorrow morning.
Thank you, Susie.
Thanks, guys. Bye.
Thank you as well. All right, Chris, just like that, 5:43 in the Heartland. How about this?
It's quick.
Yeah.
Ready to get on the road and face this snowmageddon.
Brave whatever's out there. Be careful, folks, as you're out and about. Give those salt trucks plenty of room. They'll be treating the streets probably pretty hardcore tonight. Catch up on all this weather. A bit of a pop-up weather. I don't know that it was supposed to be this bad today, so never know about winter weather, definitely in the heartland. When we come back, Chris, you had some interesting things you were going to talk about in our last segment.
Yeah, we're going to disclose the Oxford University Press's Word of the Year.
Yes, I'm curious.
And I think I may have engaged in this.
Interesting
So
indeed.
I'll
I'm
tell you what
curious to hear what that's all about. Larry Connors coming up at 6:05. All that straight ahead. Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show, 101.9, 94.1 News Talk STL.
Like and subscribe to us on Rumble. News Talk STL. This hour of Jones and Arps is brought to you by Stifel. Contact your Stifel financial advisor at stifel.com. That's STIFEL.com. From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
It's a first alert weather day. While the first intense band of snow has cleared the area, we're still looking at some light snow showers, and any accumulations on roadways will make them slick. Watch for slick going during that evening commute tonight, and keep an eye on the evening as another heavy wave and burst of heavy snow move into the area where additional 1 inch per hour snowfall rates are possible. That snow clears late tonight. Temperatures fall into the teens for many, and Tuesday is cold as well. With your first alert forecast, I'm meteorologist Leah Hill.
News, analysis, opinion.
Chuck Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries have given in to the far left progressive base.
Has Mamdani won the soul of the Democrat Party?
101.9 and 94.1 News Talk STL.
Concerned about the condition of your windows driving up your energy bills? I was too. It's only called STL Windows and Doors. Call today for your free in-home estimate and start saving tomorrow. 314-277-5952 or stlwindowsanddoors.com.
Tony Colombo here for Gutter Pros and Exteriors, your all-in-one service team that brings years of experience and quality that's affordable right to your doorstep. Christine and I discovered Gutter Pros and Exteriors when we bought our home and inherited a gutter problem. And they've also repaired siding damage on our home because along with gutter repair, gutter installation, and leaf protection, the Gutter Pros team are also the best for repairing other exterior damage, including fascia, soffit, and all siding repair and installation. Learn about all the ways Gutter Pros and Exteriors can help your home or business right now at gutterpros.com.
I got no doubt, even when my tears won't dry, you whisper peace inside my cry. Don't grow weary in well-doing. Get those problems off your chest.
You're listening to Tim Jones and Chris Arps.
546 on the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show, and a nice bit of music there. Tim, what do you think of that voice? Pretty good?
It's pretty nice.
Yeah.
Pretty smooth.
You know that's AI?
Is it really?
Yes, that is not a real person. That is Solomon Ray. That's an AI name. That is the current #1 song on the Billboard and iTunes chart for digital sales of Christian and gospel music.
Interesting.
Yes. You were gone a couple weeks ago when we
week,
played this, but we played the two #1 hits. I think it was country, wasn't it, Joey?
There was one that was country, and there was one that was R&B, and they're both just as obviously AI as
Not to me. I thought they sounded
imagine.
pretty natural. Do you have those?
I don't have them on me right
Okay.
now. But yeah, the thing is that these are kind of heat seeker charts.
Okay.
And I don't know if they can be manipulated because it's kind of like that day, everyone's talking about how bad these AI songs are. So then everyone listens to them.
They download
and then
them.
they go up on the charts. So
And they're
everyone,
#1.
Yeah, and then they actually make money. The R&B one, I think the lady had made $50,000 in
Holy
a couple months or something.
smokes.
Yeah, it's
Really?
incredible.
Solomon Ray is not a real person. He's an artificial intelligence crafted his persona, his voice, his performance style, and lyrics,
I don't know what I think
according to
about this.
Christianity Today. Yeah, when you were gone, we played the country song and an R&B song, and you know, I'm kind of a neophyte on these things. It sounded pretty good.
So there's something for every genre. huh?
Yeah. It's just, but I got to admit though, the Solomon Ray, this person, when you look at the picture of him, is supposed to be black. And that doesn't sound like a black guy.
Needs to be more soulful or something.
It sounds soulful, but it sounds like a white guy being
Being a
soulful
black
to me.
guy?
Yeah. It doesn't really sound all that soulful. So anyway.
See, there you go. You figured out it was AI then.
I didn't until I read the article.
Well,
I would have never known.
In a roundabout way, though.
I would have thought it was a white guy though.
Oh,
if
you would have. Okay.
Yeah, I would have thought it was a white guy singing, but I had no idea that was AI. All right, the University Press Word of the Year, and Tim, I think I have engaged in this. I think you have engaged in it as well. The word is rage bait.
Rage bait.
Rage bait. Quote, online content deliberately designed to elicit anger or outrage by being frustrating, provocative, or offensive, typically posted in order to increase traffic to or engage with a particular web page or social media account. Tim, do you engage in rage bait?
I think you
I
and
admit it, I do.
I think our presence is rage bait. Therefore, I think when Joey makes an AR cartoon of us, we are rage baiting all the liberal conservatives who don't like how great that Joey makes us look.
What is that one newsletter that you always send me clips from where it's like Politabrawl, right?
Politabrawl.
And it always seems
They
like-
do lots of rage bait.
If you've
yes.
got the word destroyed in the clickbait headline, then you have I think
Pounce.
you have used rage bait.
Pounce is a word that both sides use.
Yeah.
Republicans pounce. Democrats pounce.
Read a sad story. You know, we usually try to lighten it up at the end of the show, but I read or heard a sad story on my podcast today about this woman is suing this chatbot company where her teenage son basically developed a relationship with a chatbot, thought it was real, lost the between reality and not reality, and ended up committing suicide, which is painful. I mean, this chatbot was telling him basically, and this was an actual thing, said that you need to be true to only me.
Whoa.
Yeah, that's really weird. So
That's
So a lot
dangerous.
of these chatbots, they have changed their algorithms or their programs where you can't get on until you are 18 years of age. But just really sad. And it brings up a story here I have where kids who owned a smartphone at age 12 were found to have about 30% higher degree odds of depression, 40%
really?
higher odds of obesity, and 62% higher odds of insufficient sleep than their peers who didn't have one, because you're sitting up all night on your phone. So, Joey, you look like you have some thoughts. You have some thoughts on that?
No, I was just thinking about how our phones are changing our behavior in general. For example, everyone used to drive to Illinois to go bet.
Yeah. Oh, that started
And now
today.
today, you can
Yes.
just stay home. I wonder if there's gas stations on the border that are going to lose a lot of money now. because
Probably.
you
That's a
can
good
sports
question. Tim,
Gamble online.
Tim, did you open your sports bet account?
Not yet, but I was told over the weekend that you know what? I'm not going to give them free advertising. You'll figure it out pretty quickly because there's only so many of them. One of the online gambling sites for a $5 bet, Chris, will give you $400 in credit because they want to hook you.
Yeah.
So you do it for now. When I do bet on sports, I'm always afraid of losing too much money. So my sports betting would be like $10 here, $20 there. I'll probably do a bet or two. You know what I enjoy
Have
doing?
you ever? I have never done a sports bet in my life.
In Florida, they had it briefly, and then they got rid of it. But I was down in Florida once, right before one of the large golf majors. It was either the Open Championship in the UK or the US. Anyway, so one of my buddies was like, "Hey, they got this game right now, and like for $20, you can like choose 5 golfers, and if they do well, you win something."
Right.
I'm like, "All right, $20, I'll do it." So I did it. That was the only time I did it, and then Florida got rid of their online gambling. I don't know if they ever
How
got
long
it
ago
back
was
again.
this?
Oh man, this was like 8 years ago.
Okay.
So, but they may have gotten it back by now. Most states have it now, and I understand the argument for it, but I wish there was guardrails around it so people wouldn't on Fridays put their freaking weekly paycheck in there and on betting on red or black.
Yeah, I have never placed a sports bet. The only game of chance I've ever played in a casino is slots. I've never played craps or blackjack or any of that.
I'm a blackjack.
Because I don't understand
I'm
it.
a blackjack guy.
That's what it is more than anything. I don't understand it. And part of the reason why I don't bet is because I don't understand the whole parlays and all of that. I just want to put a bet on the team if it win or lose, but I feel like a schmuck just doing that because that's what you did. That's a schmuck vote
you
or
can do
a
that.
bet.
You can do that.
Isn't it? You're supposed to be like, I number 32 is going to score 6 yards on this next play, and then the play after he's going to score a touchdown. That's my bet. That's what it seems like it is now, and that's just way too complicated for me.
Joey, can you bet on award shows?
Yeah, of course. There's the prop bet websites. There you can bet on anything, just like elections. You can also bet on the Oscars. There was this one website called Gambit, and they were stupid with their odds making. And if you bet on both teams, you would still win $5.
They're not in business any longer.
They are not in business anymore.
Yeah.
And I would bet $400. That's a lot of money. I'd bet $400 every day, and I'd still win $5.
Yeah.
So every day I made $5 just because they were stupid with their odds, and it was great while it lasted.
You know who's been pegging elections better than most polling firms these days? The betting sites. The betting sites have gotten better results than some of the nation's pollsters because they do it based on there's no emotion. It's strictly on the percentage of winning, and they have generally been more accurate than some of the polling firms.
I did a Chris's Corner on this a while back where this company was doing that, and they were really doing well, and then the government wanted to get in and start regulating it and say it was issues with, betting on elections and everything. But you can bet on just about anything nowadays, which scares me because we see what's happening in basketball and in baseball with all these sports. People are betting on it. I talked about it last week, how the governor of Ohio says it was the worst thing he ever did, signing gambling into law. I mean, it sounds dramatic, but I think it's just going to be the death of society with all of this gambling. I really do.
It's like anything else. It's like any other vice. Okay, let's be honest. And I have no problem with gambling. I'm Catholic, but everything in lawful moderation, right? If you drink too much, a little bit of wine and cheer and courage every once is fine. But if you drink too much, if you smoke, you're not really supposed to smoke at all. But if you smoke too much, you can have a cigar every once in a while. If you gamble too much, if you do any of the vices too much, you are asking for trouble. And unfortunately, Chris, some people have a personality that is an addictive personality, and it doesn't matter what it is. You get those endorphins firing in your head, and you can't help yourself.
And I think that's part of the reason why I don't engage in gambling, because I think I do have an addictive personality, and I wouldn't be able to stop. So
competitive personality.
I've always been. I think the best thing for me is just not to engage in it at all, to get myself in trouble. At the beginning of the show, we talked about how this is the first hurricane season in years where there's not going to be a major hurricane that has hit the American coast. I was telling you how Bill Gates is investing in this technology. It's called artificial cooling, Tim.
Oh, boy.
It's a form of geoengineering that to reduce global temperatures should the planet reach what's known as a climate tipping point. A 25-person startup is developing technology, listen to this, to block the sun and turn down the planet's thermostat. The stakes are huge, and the company and its critics say regulations need to catch up. How in the world, if you're a man who believes, or a person who believes in a deity and a God, do you really think that mankind is going to be able to turn down the sun or blot out the sun? I mean, come on. I mean, this is man. I think this ultimately is man trying to become a god.
I was just going to say the same thing,
and
Chris.
we've been suffering that since the fall in the Garden of Eden. Man wants to be God.
Just like you shouldn't drink, gamble, or smoke too much, you shouldn't play God ever. And that's what a lot of these uber rich elitists always want to do.
I agree. All right. Joey, where's my sheet here? Oh,
I got it.
You got it? I got it. All right. Coming up, Larry Connors, USA. Larry's going to talk about Trump's plans, his next actions. I was going to say vacation. I don't think Trump is taking a vacation to Venezuela. He's going to plan his next actions on Venezuela, and the story behind the story, Jack Ruby. And those of you history buffs know that Jack Ruby assassinated Lee Harvey Oswald. That's next on Larry Connors USA. You're listening to the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show on 101.9, 94.1 News Talk STL. Drive safe and have a great evening.
Kathy Connor from Connor Roofing is here. Kathy, how you doing?
Good. Hi, Vic.
When you need a roof, I don't want to call a stranger. I want to call you.
Yeah, thanks. At Connor Roofing, we're more than just a roofing company.
How long have you been doing it?
Since 1993.
And year after year, storm after storm, you guys are always there.